to have been just looking for fun and looking for clarity, not looking for a BMW, looking for fun and looking for clarity, not looking for a beautiful house in the snow, looking for fun and looking for clarity, looking for fun and looking for clarity, and finding fun and finding clarity, and finding fun and finding clarity, and finding fun and finding clarity. And then things begin manifesting in your experience effortlessly, because you finally are experiencing the power of the leverage of alignment. You see, that's why we've been explaining to you that you've been sifting and sorting and asking and putting it in your vortex, and it's been culminating there, it's been gathering, it's prepared itself for you being ready for it. It's better now than it was when you first put it there, because you put other things in there with it that all morphed together. And so your vortex, your vibrational reality, is ready to burst onto the scene in the moment that you vibrationally stop disallowing it. So this is the piece. This is another key that this gathering will help you hear in a very strong way. Humans often think that if they've got their sights on something, that they must find a way to think about that, 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 and rein it in like a fish on a line. It's not like that at all. It's that once you have set your sights on it and it's in your vortex, now your work is to chill. Your work is not to figure out what the path is. The path is being revealed to you. You just have to figure out how to be receptive to the information about the path. Can you feel the difference about that? And the thing that trips you up, we're trying to demonstrate it for you here. So there is a vibration that becomes a thought. That's momentum worth celebrating. But humans don't want to celebrate it until it's in the garage. So since it's not in the garage, you mess this up. And since it's not in the garage, you mess this up. And since it's not in the garage, you get another job. And since it's not in the garage, you work harder. And since it's not in the garage, you try to find all the behavior to get it in the garage. And all the stuff that you do to try to get it in the garage causes you to keep messing this up. You see what we're getting at? So if you can just find things that are easy to feel good about, then everything that you want will come into full fruition. You'll find it all in the garage. You say, see, that's why I believe it. I believe it because it's true. And we say, no, it's true because you believe it. You say, no, I'm sure that I believe it because it's true. I've been a collector of information, Abraham. I've been living my life, and I'm just not good at that. Or these things that I want just don't come to me. And we say, but the reason they don't is because you think they don't. And you say, yeah, but I think they don't because they don't. And we say, yes, but they don't because you think they don't. You say, no, I didn't think they wouldn't until they didn't. And since they aren't coming, now I think they're not coming. And we say, well, somehow you've got to figure out how to break that cycle, because the universe is not giving you what you're saying with your words. The universe is giving you what you're offering vibrationally. And what you're offering vibrationally, in other words, the universe is giving you what you mean. The universe is giving you what you expect. The universe is giving you what you've practiced thinking about. And so we get it, that it's not the easiest thing in the world. In fact, it might be one of the hardest things in the world to think differently than what is. Because you have become so very good in your observation of what is, in your assessment of what is, in your restating of what is, in your documenting of what is, in your regurgitating of what is, in your seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, in your physical translation of what is feels pretty solid to you. But we want you to know it isn't solid, it's changing all the time. But in many cases, it's just changing to more of the same because that's what you're thinking about. Do you get that? It's not holding steady. It's changing to your current expectation. But if your current expectation is just like the one you had yesterday and the one you had the day before and the one you had the day before, then it holds steady and you say, see? That's why I believe it. I believe it because that's how it is. And we say, no, it is because that's what you believe. Oh, Abraham, not that again, please, not that again. In other words, when you see that guy and you just hate that guy, so annoying in this way and this way and this way, the reason that you feel the discomfort that you would call hatred or whatever it is that you're feeling is because the source within you feels differently. once we got Esther's attention about that, she said to us a few hundred times, Abraham, you clearly need more information about this. I'm sure if you knew what I know, you would not be sitting on your airy fairy cloud. If you knew what I know, you would feel about this like I feel about this. And it took a while for Esther to come to understand that we don't go there. And when she does, she feels the separation is too strong a word, but she feels the vibrational variance between who she really is and who she's allowing herself to be in that moment. And that discord is really what we want to talk about, because this gathering is about the art of allowing alignment rather than discord, the art of being tuned in, tapped in, turned on to who you really are, rather than being separated is too strong a word, but you can pinch yourself off pretty good from who you really are and what you really know. So your emotions let you know. If you're feeling wonderful, that means you've launched lots of rockets of desire, and you are in this moment not offering a thought, belief, or expectation that contradicts the desire that you hold. You're right up to speed with who you are. And in that moving with the flow of who you really are, you feel elation, you feel passion, you feel exhilaration, you feel really good, you feel love and appreciation, you feel joy. But if you are feeling frustration or overwhelmment, if you are feeling angst of any kind, if you're feeling anger, or if you are feeling grief, if you're feeling revenge, or any of those negative emotions that feel like despair or fear, then that means that your perspective in this moment is so far apart from the perspective of your source about the same thing. That's the most important thing to understand. It isn't that we are focused upon something entirely different and that's why we feel good. We're focused upon what you're focused upon and we feel good. And that is, no matter how you try to figure it out, what unconditional love really is. We maintain our alignment with that which is love, regardless of the condition. Now Esther wants to say, well, Abraham, if you were in the condition where I am, you might be feeling differently. And we say, do not argue for your conditional limitations. If you will distract yourself from the condition that is causing you the separation from all that you are, from all that we are, from that which is life, from that which is love, from that which is source, if you'll just cut that out, you'll feel good. In other words, it's like the cork is bobbing up there on the surface of the water. You can hold it under the water. That's what negative emotion is. But when you let go of it, when you're distracted from whatever you're doing that's holding it down, it will bob right back to the surface where it belongs. And you are the same. If you're not bobbing, it's because you've got hold of things unnecessarily. You're holding the conditions of those unnecessary things in your thought patterns. And in doing so, you're practicing them because you know, you think a thought for 17 seconds and another thought like it joins it. It doesn't take very much attention to something to get enough momentum going that you can cause what feels like true separation from your life, from your joy, from your clarity, from your abundance, from your well-being, from who you really are. So, cut it out. Life is supposed to feel really good to you. You're supposed to be having a wonderful time. You are supposed to feel good. But in order to do that, it takes some deliberate attention. It takes some deliberate focus, which means, mostly it means, you got to care about how you feel. You got to care so much about feeling good that you are willing to pay the price of feeling good. You have to care enough about feeling good that you are willing to use your emotions to help you in the choice of thought. And that's what deliberate creation is. So once you begin to put this emotional translation in the mix, once you begin to recognize that how you feel matters most of all, because how you feel is your in the moment indicator of how much of you are allowing to be present in this moment. If you knew how much backup you've got, if you knew how many advocates you have advocating on your behalf, you see, we know everything that you're asking for and where it is and what the path of least resistance to it is. We know where everything you want is and where you stand in relationship to it. That's a good thing. It's a good thing for you to know somebody who knows that, you see. But you've got to be in a place where you can receive. Esther says, oh, but Abraham, you and Jerry, all you dead guys, there's no such thing as that. You are so subtle now. You are so subtle. I have to tune myself so precisely to your frequency in order to hear you. Can't you be less subtle? And we say, tuning is subtle. Tuning to the frequency of who you are and what you want, it takes some practice. But it's an easy thing to do if you care about how you feel. Because if you care about how you feel, you're just not going to entertain those thoughts that don't feel good. You're just going to find yourself more and more shying away from them, which is to say shying away from or toward something else. In other words, there's no such thing as exclusion in this attraction-based universe. You sort of kind of get that? There's no such thing as no. When you look at something that you really want and you say yes to it, you are including something that you want in your vibration. But when you look at something that you don't want and you feel that resistance well up in you and you are saying no to this thing you do not want, what you're actually doing is saying yes to this thing you do not want. Because attention to the subject is what causes you to be the inviter, the receiver, the realizer, the creator of it, you see. And what we really want to say is, rather than thinking about beliefs that you want to change, because when you think of something that needs to change, you're looking right at it and it's not changing, it's getting stronger. Every time you look at it, it grows deeper roots and more branches. In other words, it goes down and out. And so when you instead think about what you'd like to think about, what we've been saying for a little while is that the way to stop practicing beliefs that you no longer want to perpetuate is by making them more and more general. Now, that's what your tree analogy was about.
Right.
But in your analogy, from our perspective, the leaves on the tree are the more specific. The branches are the more general. But also in your analogy, the branches were the more core beliefs. And so you're sort of getting in your own way about that.
Yep.
Just in general terms, when you are general, you are less specific. Write that down. That's really important.
That was good.
Truths of the universe happen here. When you are general, you are less specific. When you are less specific, there is less momentum. So if you can go back to the general that is easier for you to align with, back to the general that is easier for you to find harmony with the source within you. Once you stabilize there, then from that stable, non-resisted vibration, now new evidences of that will fill out the branches of your tree. So how do things manifest anywhere? Where did this stuff come from? Is it being trucked in from other planets? It isn't, is it? In other words, how is it manifesting? How are you realizing what you're realizing? Well, it's a vibrational interpretation that is becoming this perception that you have. We know it's when you're born into reality, it's not the easiest thing to understand how it got there. But we want you to understand that things are changing because of your attention to them. So vibrations are turning to thoughts and thoughts are turning to things. The emphasis that we want to place is upon your realization. So we want to talk about the manifesting process. What is the process of manifesting? Well, really, the very first manifestational evidence that you receive about your mix of thoughts, which is what you are creating, that's your mixing bowl, are the emotions that you feel. An emotion, what could be more manifested than something that you feel so powerfully? And when you think about it, just a little aside, everything that you or anyone wants or has ever wanted, you want because you believe you will feel better in the having of it. Whether it's a pile of money or a material object or an event or a circumstance or a relationship, everything that you want is because you think you will feel better. Well, when you think about it in the way we're presenting it to you here, one of the first things that manifests is the emotion that helps you to understand your vibrational content. The next thing that